There's a question that gets asked all the time in hunting circles. Not always out loud, but it's there. What makes someone a good hunter? And most of the time, the answer is implied, not said. It's success, right? It's antlers on the wall. It's tags filled. It's grip and grins. It's photos. It's proof. But the older I get and the longer I stay in the woods, the more I realize that success alone might be the weakest way to measure a hunter. Because success is visible and being a good hunter often isn't. So today, I want to talk about what actually makes someone a good hunter beyond success. Not in a moral, preachy way, not as a rule book, but as something deeper. Something most hunters feel even if they've never put words to it. I have hunted with people who rarely fill tags, but I would follow them into the woods every season without hesitation. And I've seen successful hunters who could kill consistently, but something always felt off. Not illegal, not unethical, just hollow. And that's when it clicked for me. A good hunter isn't defined by what they take. They're defined by how they move through the experience. A good hunter pays attention when no one's watching. They notice tracks that don't matter to the hunt. They stay to look at trees. They remember where the sun comes up in October versus November. They're not always trying to optimize every second. They're learning. They move through the woods without trying to control it. They let patterns reveal themselves instead of forcing conclusions. Over time, that kind of attention builds something you can't rush, a quiet familiarity with a place. Not ownership, not mastery, just understanding. A good hunter knows when not to shoot, and that doesn't get talked about much. Passing animals, letting moments go, choosing restraint even when success is within reach. Not because someone told them to, not because of a rule, but because it doesn't feel right this time. That instinct, that pause, that's not weakness. That's maturity. And it usually comes from time, failure, and humility, not trophies. A good hunter respects the animal beyond the moment of the harvest. Not just clean shots, although that matters, but what happens after. Care, gratitude, responsibility. There's a difference between harvesting an animal and consuming the experience. One is about taking, the other is about honoring. And you can feel the difference immediately when you're around someone who understands that. A good hunter doesn't need to prove anything, and this is a big one, okay? They don't need to justify every decision. They don't need to explain why their hunt mattered. They don't need validation for every success or failure. They're comfortable with quiet seasons, comfortable with being unseen, because their identity isn't wrapped around external approval. It's grounded in consistency. They hunt because it's who they are, not because they need it to mean something to someone else. And here's the part that might sting a little bit, but matters. A good hunter makes space for other hunters. They don't gatekeep learning. They don't belittle beginners. They don't turn every conversation into a comparison. They remember what it felt like not to know. They remember confusion, missed opportunities, bad calls, embarrassing moments. And instead of pretending they were always good, they help others shorten the learning curve. Because they understand that hunting survives through people, not egos. A good hunter accepts seasons of emptiness. And this one's a little hard, okay? No movement, no sightings, no filled tags, just long sits and longer thoughts. And instead of quitting or blaming or forcing outcomes, they let the woods teach them something else. Patience, perspective, stillness. Sometimes the lesson isn't success. Sometimes the lesson is endurance. If you ask me, a good hunter isn't measured by what hangs on the wall. They're measured by how they talk about animals, how they treat the land, how they handle disappointment, how they act when no one is there to witness it, and how they show up season after season, even when the reward is uncertain. A good hunter understands that not every season is meant to look impressive. Some seasons are quiet on purpose. Some hunts don't produce stories worth telling at camp. Some days are just sitting long enough to remember why you came in the first place. And instead of trying to force meaning out of every outing, they let the experience stand on its own. They don't rush the lesson. They don't turn every hunt into a measurement of progress. They trust that time in the woods compounds, even when the results don't show up right away. Because being a good hunter isn't about constant improvement on paper. It's about depth, about learning the same places in different moods, about noticing small changes year to year, about understanding that familiarity doesn't come from success. It comes from presence, and presence can't be rushed. So maybe the better question isn't, are you successful? But are you patient? Are you observant? Are you respectful? Are you honest with yourself? And would you still hunt if no one knew what you did out there? If the answer is yes, you already know you're a good hunter, even if the woods are quiet right now. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, however hunting shows up in your life, carry it forward with respect. And see you in the next one.